This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to
We're watching here.
This is Opinionated Movie Talk with Chris and Perry. My name is Chris Williams. With me, he's the David Letterman to my Paul Hogan, Perry Seibert.
I was hoping to be the Maya Rudolph to your Kristen Wiig.
Oh, you know what? But I was thinking about this even before last night. I was like, what's my intro going to be? And I wanted to go with two of the most obscure Oscar hosts
in history. Yes, I was with you. I got it.
How are you doing, Perry?
I'm still groggy, man. We are recording this the Monday after the Oscars aired, and so I can't go to sleep after the Oscars. I had a very short night. I went to work today, man. I am tired, but I'm so happy to keep talking about this show.
See, I went to bed right about 11:30. Right, almost as soon as it was done, I shut my laptop, turned the TV off, turned off the lights, and went to bed, and got a nice sleep. I was pretty happy, but there've definitely been those nights where the Oscar ends a certain way, and you're like up the whole night stewing on it. So yeah, I'm a little better for the wear than you are. And this is going to be our Oscar talk. We're talking Oscars tonight. So before we get into that, though, a couple bits of housekeeping. One, this is going to be our season finale. After this episode, we're going to take a little bit of a break, just about probably 2 months or so, and return in late April or early May, just in time for summer. So we'll be back, just a little short break to get through some schooling issues and kind of give us a break, because it kind of just feels like Oscar is a nice little end to the movie season, and take a little breather, come back, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of stuff to talk about this summer, and we'll get a nice list of stuff coming on. So we're going away briefly. We will be back this spring. So do not delete our RSS feed. So we will be here. So second, before we get into Oscars, Perry, what have you been watching?
I'll be honest, Chris. I rarely do this, but I've actually I have been binging TV.
Oh, really?
Rather than movies, more often than not lately. Because I finally, after many, many people telling me I should watch this, I have dove deep and long into the world of Peaky Blinders.
Oh, really? I have not watched that.
I love Stephen Knight as a writer and director. I think he's super talented. This is a series he created. Structurally, it's basically The Godfather set in Britain at the beginning of the show, just past World War One, and it's going to go 7 seasons. They just finished season 5. I'm just finishing up season 4. Stephen Knight wrote every episode of this thing, and it's Cillian Murphy is the leader of this incredibly violent British gangsters who come up from the hardscrabble of Birmingham. And eventually worm their way higher and higher in British society by fighting gangsters from all over the world. It just scratches an itch I never mind having scratched. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
I've heard many people who love that show. I have not gotten around to that one, but it's Netflix, right?
Netflix has the previous ones.
I will once things slow down, I might have to add that. Anything else you've been seeing?
I'm trying to think. I just spent, you spend the month before the Oscars, if you're anything like me, re-watching stuff and ending up showing it to people who haven't seen stuff yet. And so it's been a lot of, I get to revisit 1917. I saw Little Women a third time. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of, feeling guilty about when you make your top 10 list and realizing, oh no, I should have had this over here and that over there. And, that's been pretty much it. That and enjoying all the Paul Schrader films that are on the Criterion Channel. That's been what I've been doing.
Well, that sounds like a nice segue, because what I've been watching, people who listen to this podcast might remember that a few episodes ago, I made a New Year's resolution to really dip into that Criterion collection and do 3 a month. And I am happy to say, in January, I watched 3 movies from the Criterion collection.
Yay!
And one of them was one of the Paul Schrader ones. I did watch Hardcore, which we talked briefly about on, I think, one of our last episodes. And I think I felt the same way as you did. I don't think it's great. I think it's kind of a mess. But I'm really glad I saw it. It's an interesting movie.
Yeah, he is with rare exception a fabulous writer. And so even his worst films have usually at least one, if not many, passages that are absolutely worth your time, and that film is a prime example of that. And it's far from his worst movie by any means. But
yeah,
is.
There's a relationship between the main character, who's this religious father searching for his daughter who went missing in the LA porn scene, but the relationship between him and this sex worker who kind of guides him through things. And there's some really great passages in there that I liked. So I'm glad I saw that. I wanted to take a break from some of the Disney stuff my kids are watching over and over and watch a movie with them. So I decided to see how they would do with a little bit of Charlie Chaplin. And we watched The Kid one.
Interesting.
And,
how did that go?
My 4-year-old could not have cared less. She was kind of bored. But my son, he's 8, and he was really wrapped up in it.
Excellent.
He didn't laugh as much as I thought, but he was really wrapped up in the emotional story. The fate of the kid as he's kind of taken away by the orphanage and things like that. He was really drawn up in that because I think silent films are just really a good thing to show kids because those emotions are all right there and there's not a lot they have to parse through. So it was fun to watch it with him.
Superb.
So yeah, that was good. And then the last one I watched right before it left was The Last Detail.
Oh,
which
I love that movie.
And we had talked about Hal Ashby before, and he's definitely someone I have some blind spots on. So I wanted to see that. Also because we've also talked about Last Flag Flying, which is a very loose sequel to this. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I loved watching Jack Nicholson in this. Just kind of on the cusp of being Jack. And it's just a really interesting mix of just kind of there's a lot of ingrained cynicism about institutions in there, but also just a really kind heart to it. And just a really, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It made me happy I decided to dip into the Criterion stuff.
Good.
And then one other movie I do want to mention, since it's our season finale. This is not a Criterion movie by any stretch of the imagination, although I believe one of his films is in the Criterion collection. It's Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Oh, you saw that.
I saw that.
Word.
It is the best thing that Kevin Smith has made in 10 years. But please consider everything that
doesn't
means.
Mean it's good.
Exactly. It is definitely playing to his strengths. I do think maybe his visual skills have actually gotten worse in the last decade. Because it's a very ugly looking film.
It plays to his strength, so it's a podcast? Is that what you're telling me?
It is literally the only film I've ever seen where one of the production credits is his podcast company. It is a Smodcast movie. Yeah, I mean, him and Jason Mewes were too old to do this back when Clerks 2 came out, but now when you watch a 50-year-old Jason Mewes trying to do this, it feels a little rough, but I will also say, as someone who really enjoyed the View Askew movies back in the 90s and early 2000s, it hit some moments. There's some moments that I did chuckle at, and there's a really great moment for Chasing Amy fans, and there's kind of a sweet side to it that kind of gets you through the very rough patches, but if you've seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, this is very much a almost word-for-word remake of that movie.
Okay.
So it's definitely for fans only, and it's probably for a very small portion of those fans. But it did scratch a little nostalgic itch. It did kind of feel good to see Jason Lee pop up or Ben Affleck pop up, and there were worse ways to spend a Saturday night, even if there were many better ways to spend a Saturday night. So,
excellent. I'm glad you did not find it to be a waste of time.
I didn't go that far, but
a complete waste of time. How's
okay,
that?
there we go.
Okay.
There we go. But we will see from talking about movies that do not belong in the awards conversation to talk about the awards themselves. Last night was the Academy Awards. We stayed up, watched the whole thing. Perry is tired. You heard me. I'm not tired. Perry, you are one of the biggest Oscar fans I know. Every year you get excited when everyone is saying Oscars don't matter. I'm tired of the Oscars. You are so excited about it every year, and I love it.
I am.
So let's just start. I'll give you the floor. What did you think about this year's show?
The show itself was nothing terribly special. For me, the Oscar telecast, I don't care about the ratings for the Oscar telecast.
Mm-hmm.
I only care about it for how the Academy overreacts to it and decides to instill change in the actual awards process. For me, the Oscar telecast is always at its best when there is a genuine surprise. And what I'm talking about is in who wins an award. Seeing Eminem finally perform Lose Yourself at the Oscars was a surprise. And it wasn't an unwelcome one, but that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a surprise. I'm talking about the complete shock late in the show when Bong Joon-ho won Best Director.
Yes.
That's the first point where I went, okay, now this is really interesting. Because no, I did not see that coming at all. At all. I would have bet on Mendes, and if it wasn't going to be Mendes, I would have bet on Tarantino. I thought this would be their chance to do this. I did not see that coming. I mean, it's reasonable. He was not a completely unreasonable shot at that point in the evening, having done so well earlier. But boy, that was something. And of course, it heralded the Best Picture award, which was another genuine sort of great moment for me. And I've thought a lot about it since then. It's probably why I didn't sleep enough, Chris. I think that, in politics, we throw around the phrase, a transformative candidate, someone who truly changes the political landscape. This feels like a transformative thing for the Academy. They have spent 10 years making a concerted effort to make the votership younger and to weed out, all of the older members of the Academy who weren't voting, who weren't putting in the time to see stuff. I am on record as being very dubious about the preferential ballot for Best Picture. It's a double-edged sword. I understand the good and the bad, but for me, I am predisposed to disliking it because in a case where there's a film that is utterly divisive and really groundbreaking that 30% of the Academy thinks is an absolute brilliant, ahead of its time masterpiece, and maybe another 30% wouldn't touch for anything, leaving middle ground that I think in a preferential ballot really gets hurt by that 30% really hating it. I think that if you go for a classic, you get one vote for the Best Picture and the thing that gets the most votes wins. I think if there's a film that 30% think is really amazing, if there isn't a consensus other pick for a better film, I don't know why that film shouldn't win. And I think it will prevent truly groundbreaking work from ever winning. And I still think that's true. I don't think The Parasite is groundbreaking. I think it's great. There are other films up that I liked better. I would have put Parasite fourth if I'd had a preferential ballot. I think it's really good, and I think it's really exciting that it won. And I think that it shows that all the effort that the Academy has put into making the Academy voting body more diverse age-wise, more diverse culturally, is really paying off. This is the most like international Oscars I've ever seen, and it's kind of really exciting to see. This will change what I think can win Best Picture going forward. And I can't remember the last time I thought that with a Best Picture winner.
You know, I remember it was 2 years ago when Moonlight won. And I remember thinking, wow, that is a bold choice. That is not the movie I expected to win. Maybe things are changing. And then Green Book won, which seemed to be, that's the safe choice. That's the down the middle. And so going in there, that's what I thought. I'm like, okay, Moonlight was a little anomaly. Green Book is kind of more what I expect from the Academy. So 1917, which I should say is a movie I like quite a bit. I thought that was going to be your safe winner tonight. That's the movie that's right down the middle, kind of, pleases everyone, which without doing much that I thought was, sticking to the ribs. But I'm like, the closer we got to the Oscars, I was like, I would really like Parasite to pull this off. I would love to see Parasite win. Even if it was my number 2, like right under The Irishman. I was like, I would just love to see that. I would love to see them go for this movie, for the history making of it being the first foreign language film to win, for Bong Joon-ho, who is a director I like. And I am going to walk in on Sunday, and I am going to be disappointed from the start because I know it's not going to happen. And I think about 10 o'clock, I was starting to get tired, and I was starting to consider, do I just DVR the rest or something and then go to bed? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to stick it out. I knew we were going to be talking about it. I was tweeting it. And I think it was either the moment when Parasite won Screenplay or Best International Feature, I started to just pay attention to the response it would get when it won, which was insane. Just the amount of cheers rising up over everything.
Yeah.
And I started to get a sense, I'm like, I wonder if Parasite has a shot here. Because the response that was just huge. And then when Bong Joon-ho won Best Director, it was kind of like, okay, now this is a show. And I want to see what happens. And my wife was sleeping in the other room. She wasn't feeling too good. And I was terrified. I woke her up when I cheered when Parasite won Best Picture. I was thrilled. I love this movie. I've been telling everyone I know to go see it and not to learn anything about it ahead of time. It's such a movie of the moment. I think everything that Joker supporters say it's saying about, class warfare, Parasite's actually saying and doing interesting things with. And it's just, it was probably my favorite in-theater experience this year was watching that. So I was thrilled. And then the fact that Bong Joon-ho knows how to give a speech just made it so much better. That director's speech.
Yes, I wonder if everybody only gets 45 seconds to speak. Do you get 90 seconds if you have an interpreter up with you? This was the question I had. I was worried they would play off the interpreter.
I loved when he called out Martin Scorsese, which I just like. As much as I would have loved to see him get the Best Director, I think this was even better.
I'm obsessed by standing ovations at the Oscars. I always note whoever gets the first one. I usually note them throughout the evening, and I have never in my however many years of watching the Oscar telecast, I don't remember ever for a regular award someone else getting a standing ovation. Like they weren't already standing for the person. They stood for this other person who this person referenced. I don't ever remember that happening. And for someone who has Marty wants you to know where he came from. And I don't mean him, I mean artistically. He wants you to know what came before. So that you can understand what's happening now. And I think to be in that moment, being told that yes, all of your work is ongoing now. We are studying you. You are there. You are the heroes that you always had. Yeah, that's a pretty powerful moment, and it was really great. As a Marty fan, it was even better than him taking a little nap during Eminem's performance. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Well, and what I loved about it too is there is a lot of love for Scorsese as a director, as a defender of cinema, but what often gets lost is also just how essential he's been in working with other filmmakers, young filmmakers, to give them their shot, to champion their works. And I felt like this was just a nice way to recognize that. And also a nice little, and also Todd Phillips at the at the end of that speech. But yeah, that was fascinating for me, was Parasite winning that. And I think it's really fascinating too, if you look at all the best director winners of the last few years, it was, since 2013, you've had Ang Lee, Alfonso Cuarón, Iñárritu, twice.
Yep.
And Guillermo del Toro.
Cuarón again.
Yep, and Cuarón again, and Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro. Yes, the only American-born man to win the award. The only solo American man to win that award since Scorsese won it for The Departed, I believe, is Dominic Giselle for La La Land.
I believe you're right. Yep.
I don't think there's the Coen brothers, of course, sneaking in there. They're the duo, but other than that, yeah, this award has been international for a while.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
And I think that's what you're saying too. Is you're starting to see that infusion of new blood in there, which I think just makes it a more exciting award show, even if the telecast still feels a bit awkward to me.
Oh yeah,
but
and for me, it's not just that Parasite wins and what that means. It's the fact, and when I talk about it being transformative, it's not just that that wins. We've discussed over and over your feelings about Joker, but I don't think we can dismiss in context the fact that yes, the film that won the most awards and the film that got the most nominations were two different films, both that were very much dealing with the political argument of the moment about wealth inequality. I think that's fascinating. I think that's part of the reason Joker did really well. And looking now, you can see, this is why it was this piece of, it was this giant hit that also at least was really trying to talk about some of this. May not have been that artful about it, may not have really had anything to say. This is debatable, but it was there. It certainly at least tried to address it, even in the most facile of ways. And I think that that's part of the reason it was the most nominated film now, which is remarkable, seeing as it only got one acting nomination. It's usually multiple acting nominations that get a film up there, as the most nominated film. The whole process now, like I said, this is what I keep thinking about. It's changed. The voting body has changed, and I believe for the better. I hope for the better, and it makes me super excited to see what happens next year.
Yeah. Now not everything was kind of transformative. Renee Zellweger still won. And I will go on.
The Oscar fish still bites at the Oscar bait. Absolutely.
But yeah, I do think you're starting to see a little bit of I don't know. There seems to be this embrace of maybe, I don't want to say dangerous movies, but movies that are about something. Kind of taking this, and that's been interesting to me. I like you said, I don't think Joker succeeded at what it was trying to do, but I will applaud it for taking that chance. And then I think Parasite kind of built on the desire that people had to kind of wrestle with that. There is a great article, podcast episode to be devoted to comparing and contrasting these two movies, because for me, and I want to be very clear as we get into this a little bit.
Parasite is a better film than Joker, no doubt. But for me, why Parasite is fourth on my list, if I'm ranking all of the Best Picture nominees, is and we will attempt to continue being a spoiler-free zone here. There's a decision. There is a story decision an hour into this movie that I don't want to say turns it on its ear, but it goes somewhere unexpected.
Yes.
And for me, that feels like I would love the film as much as everybody else does if they had figured out how to maintain that perfect comedy of manners, everybody's kind of horrible tone that they have for the first hour in a straightforward manner. I think they couldn't figure out how to do it. Or they weren't interested in figuring that out. And so we spend an hour doing another thing, which is very entertaining. I have no problem with the decision. I like the movie a great deal. I think it's a very, very good piece of work. Wonderfully directed. To get to a very grand ending, and then that the footnote, the denouement ending, which brings the point home that he's getting at, and I feel like I think the film sacrifices really saying something in order to, as you have said numerous times, take you on a ride. And that's fine, but I that's for me what keeps it from being great. It's very, very good. I love it. I'm thrilled it won. It's a deserving winner for Best Picture. But from a sheer taste standpoint for me, this is why I kind of take a step back from Parasite. Just a hair. As much as everybody else loves it, it's why I am a step back from everybody else who loves it so much.
And I feel like that moment, which again will stay spoiler free, and maybe when we come back, there's a Parasite episode. But that's the moment for me where the movie just went to a whole other level. No pun intended. But
yeah.
To me, that was like, oh, okay, this is saying something very interesting that I'm very interested in now, and I have no idea what this movie is. And he brought it home for me. But again, I mean, it was number 2 on my list, so something was keeping it from the top. But you get into those, and it's all a matter of nuance.
Of course. Yes, we are splitting hairs.
Yep. What is interesting is that the film that was both of our number 1 last year, The Irishman, was totally shut out, which shocked me. And really saddened me, because I really like The Irishman, and I don't know if it was just this feeling that it's old hat for Scorsese, among the voters, or if there's a Netflix bias or what, but I would like to see it get something. It's such an achievement for so many of the people in there, and I would have loved to see Joe Pesci win.
I think it's an absolute Netflix bias. In this specific case, all the studios could have made that, and nobody wanted to. Nobody wanted to put out the money. Yeah. I think they don't want it to have existed. Unlike, anybody could have done Marriage Story. He just has a creative relationship at Netflix, so it's fine. And it isn't some seemingly fantastic otherworldly thing like Roma was, which with someone that it wasn't something so outre that's why they wouldn't do it. No studio, every studio knows they were never going to make a 2.5 hour black and white Spanish language movie. They're just not, and so they can reward that. But they couldn't spend the money on to make The Irishman. They just had to make Ant-Man and Wasp instead. So yes, I think that they're going to say, well, we're not going to vote for this because we're never going to make this. And I firmly believe that that's part of, that's in deep down, that really is what I hope every Academy voter thinking is, boy, that's the film I wished I'd made. and that I maybe could. I think the Oscars are aspirational for the people who make movies. Maybe I'm being very romantic about that, but it's how I've always felt. I'm like, this is the film I wish we had made, or that's the performance I wish I could have, directed or could have given or could have written. And for that reason, The Irishman was going to get shut out. It had no chance.
It's a shame, but I think Scorsese will be okay. I think he'll.
I do too. I still wish Pesci had won. That's the one that I think they could have and probably should have done.
I wish Pesci had showed up.
No, he's retired. He didn't show up to anything all year. He wasn't at a single awards thing. He's the opposite of Joaquin Phoenix's tuxedo. Man wore the same tuxedo to every single awards thing. It was so good.
Speaking of Joaquin Phoenix, he won Best Actor. And as much as I did not like Joker, I was really happy to see him finally win, even if I felt Adam Driver should have walked away with it. But it just is one of those things where I'm like, he does not have an Oscar by now, and I liked his speech. So I was happy to see him win, even if I wish it had been for maybe The Master or something else he had done. But yeah, I was happy to see him.
Yeah, he's one of our best. I'm good with it. Yeah, I have said all along, I never pinned myself down. I wouldn't want to have to decide between DiCaprio and Driver in that category. I couldn't. I don't want to have to figure out what I think is the best. Those were the two best performances out of those five. But Phoenix is fantastic in it, and if you're going to decide that it's a movie that deserves the most nominations for the year, boy, that's got to be the reason why you're selling it on him. And it works. I rewatched it this last weekend and was I still like the movie better than a lot of people. I think it is a genuinely interesting movie, and I'm not saying that in an offhanded way. I like it, and I like many of the choices he makes in it. I understand why many people don't. But yeah, I'm fine with Joaquin Phoenix having an Oscar. I think it's a really good thing that Joaquin Phoenix has an Oscar now.
I was actually, up until about a week or two ago, I had been convinced that he won for Walk the Line. I don't know where it lodged in my head that he had won for that.
Nope.
But he did not win for that, and that kind of surprised me to find out.
Nope, that's how Reese got hers. But no, he did not get his.
What else he got, Perry?
Let's look at some history. I'm pretty sure I haven't bothered to look it all up, but I've asked and no one has told me different. I believe Laura Dern became the first acting winner in an acting category who is the child of two actors who both had multiple acting nominations but never won.
Wow, that is a really specific bit of trivia.
It really is, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I kind of really like it. And of course, we have the first ever woman to win the best score Oscar. And boy, if you'd think there was a category that should have probably had at least one woman win it by now, you would have thought score wouldn't have been such a barrier. It's just stunning to think that to me.
I don't know. I also learned last night they apparently don't let women conduct half the time. So that was shocking to me that it's the first time a woman conducted a selection at the Oscars.
It's something. It was great to see because it's super deserved. I mean, again, if you want to get into this, the score of Joker, regardless of the movie, I mean, even if you don't like Phoenix in it, that score is hard to deny. That's a genius piece of work, and it's perfect for the movie. It absolutely helps the movie. Yeah, it was a great moment. She gave a great speech. There were a lot of really good speeches last night, really enjoyable speeches, which is all I want from an Oscar telecast. I've said this forever. I don't need a production number. I need a couple of funny bits for hosts or presenters to do, and let people who won talk. That's interesting to me. I understand it makes for lousy television. I understand I am not in the majority. But oh my gosh, when people do something really great in the acceptance speeches, that is the surprise that I want.
Well, and I feel like Brad Pitt set the bar high on that too, right out of the gate, because I loved his speech.
Yes, it was very loose, especially for someone who knew he was going to win. Mm-hmm. Very comfortable, a tad political, very funny, self-effacing, brilliant move to shout out to stunt workers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great speech. There really only Renee Zellweger gave the bummer speech of the night, where you can't ramble like that if you're the favorite. You knew you were gonna win. Yep. Come on, you if you're a surprise winner, I will accept a rambling speech like that. But
yeah, when she started thanking or mentioning Venus and Serena Williams, I was like, what the hell's going on here? And like, there were a few what the hell was going on here. Like, I thought Joaquin Phoenix's speech about cow insemination was, that kind of took me aback. I did not expect that. But that was
that's his thing. Yeah, that's his thing. If you're deep into this, it was not a surprise. He was...
Well, and that's kind of what you want to see, is kind of one of those baffling what's going on, but I didn't know what was going on with Renee Zellweger in a bad way. Like
yes.
And the only solution they had was to play her off with Pirates of the Caribbean music, which I don't know why they did that. That wasn't one of her movies.
I don't know what the I don't know what the definitive piece of music to use from Jerry Maguire is. I don't have any idea.
It would be what was it? Secret Garden?
Maybe was that the movie? Yeah, probably Secret Garden. I mean, I just remember Tom Cruise screaming through Free Fallin' in his car in that movie. That's what I remember best. Or having the entire Academy stand up and shout out, "You complete me," and just get her off the stage that way. That would have worked fine. I did love everybody at the end demanding that the lights come back up so that the female producer of Parasite could talk. That was fantastic. That was fantastic.
Pretty much any time Parasite won an award, I thought the speeches were great. I love the moment where Bong Joon-ho is just letting his co-writer speak, and he's just admiring and giggling at his little Oscar. Like, yes. I love that. Oh, that was so great. And then I don't know if you saw the picture this morning of him making his Oscars kiss, which just...
Kiss, yes, I did see that.
Oh, I loved that. I loved that. Yeah, and I thought... I was talking to my boss this morning. We were just kind of chatting about the Oscars. I loved how everything was kind of spread around. There wasn't... Like, you kind of get that momentum on some movies where it's like, all right, this is 1-8 already. We know where this is going. But I had no idea where anything was going until we got to that last half hour. And I felt like everything was awarded the way it should be. Like 1917, which I don't think is a movie we've talked about on this podcast. It winning all those technical awards, to me, that's exactly what that movie deserved. Was awards for cinematography, just to honor, just the one-shot nature of it, the gorgeous look of it, and a movie that is so technical that I spent the entire time asking how they did everything, but to the detriment where it kind of kept me at arm's length from the actual story, which is why I didn't have it on my top 10 list. But it's a movie that I really appreciate, but I just never felt like... I felt it was so well made that it kept me from really appreciating the human part of it.
That's fair. I tended to chalk it up to as well made as it is, and it is. It's beautifully made, and it is beautifully written. It is there's just really lovely, beautiful, humane moments that they arrive at very naturally and very beautifully throughout the movie, if not entirely on point. That I mean, everything about that film is beautifully crafted. My biggest complaint isn't that that kept me from being emotionally involved. It was, well, it's a war film. He's gonna succeed. It's like I don't know how. He's gonna make it. I know he's gonna make it. There's really no doubt he's gonna make it. So I was never like, and even if he doesn't make it, the good guys win that war. So so it's hard to get kind of really wrapped up in it for that very reason. But yes, it's a very good movie. I am a fan of 1917.
One of my biggest regrets is that I watched that on a screener at home and did not get to see it in the theaters. I would have loved to go see that on a bigger screen. But it was one of those ones we popped in a screener and watched that, and you lose a little something when it's in the living room.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I feel
Maybe.
like I was talking to someone who saw it on IMAX, and I feel like that would have been an incredible way to catch it. But maybe I'll run out and see it sometime when time allows.
It's an interesting question. I mean, if what you're saying, if we're really going to parse this, I mean, you're saying that it's so extravagantly well made that you just keep asking yourself, well, how did they do that? Well, why wouldn't that just double down on a large screen? I mean, it's like, that's not going to make it more of an emotional experience, is it?
I just would have liked to be able to soak everything in. I just feel like
Fair.
you lose the detail when you're watching
Fair.
it at home. So that's about it. I think it's not as immersive, but I don't know that it would have helped me to care more about the characters or anything like that. I feel like that was just something that was not going to happen for me. But
Interesting.
But I still really like the movie. I really enjoyed the movie. It's just one of those things that kept it from being great. It was very good for me.
Yeah. And
So-
I think that's the exact right response to 1917. That's very good. That's a good piece of work. Good on you.
Good job, Sam.
Yes, exactly. Good job, Sam.
Were there any awards you thought were just, oh, that was the wrong choice, that was a bummer, or...
There really nothing hideous. There were ones that were just like, I mean, Toy Story 4.
Yeah, that was the one for me.
And
And I like
honestly,
Toy Story 4,
yeah, it's fine.
but I just... There were two really great Netflix animated movies. I Lost My Body, and I
Klaus.
really liked Klaus. And I would have loved to see one of them win it. I like Toy Story, but it's just Toy Story 4, but it's just it's the Pixar thing. It's just what Pixar does, and I feel it just gets obligatory over a time, because I like all four Toy Stories. I don't know that I would say Toy Story 4 is top of the heap for me.
No, it is not. I will say I thought the funniest, the funniest, how do I want to phrase this? The funniest, poor but understandable choice of poor wording came from Bernie Taupin when he and Elton John won the Oscar for Best Song for a song no one remembers. When he talked about how, finally winning this award with Elton, they'd never been nominated for an Oscar together before. And when he got up here and he said, I just don't have the words. And I literally shut up my TV screen. That's your job. Your job is to have the words. You're the lyricist. How do you not have the words? No, bad word choice. Bad word choice, Bernie. Come on, do better.
I did like them winning, not because I like the song particularly, but I just feel like the best parts of that movie were Elton and Bernie, their story.
Of course.
This felt like a nice little capper to that. Even
Of
I don't even know what
course.
other. Well, no, I do think that song from Harriet. That was my first time hearing that. But hearing that performed, I was like, oh, there's your winner. That's got to win. And I don't know. I guess he had to go with Elton John because he was there. But
I found all 5 of the songs utterly forgettable. None of them bad, but just like I retain none of them. And usually when Randy Newman writes that, that's the song that wins. Like, if I told you the 2 songs he's got his Oscars for from his 22 nominations now, 21, 23, something like that, you would not remember them. I guarantee it. It's the songs from Toy Story 3 and Monsters, Inc.
Scott Wampler tweeted out last night. I had to look this up while you were talking. Randy Newman built an entire career on what if I played this piano while singing like I had a traumatic head injury, and I respect the hell out of it.
I love Randy. I will accept no diss of Randy. Randy's a god, man. Randy's not messing around with anybody. I love Randy Newman. So that's fun. I wished. That score for Joker's great. I would have loved if he'd won score for Marriage Story. That would have been fantastic. I would love for him to have both a song and score Oscar. That'd be fantastic. And it could easily still happen in this life.
Yeah, and going back, because you had mentioned the Joker score, and I didn't say anything, but I will 100% agree with you on Joker score. Like, the thing I think about that movie and why I think so many people do walk out with such a powerful experience, it hits you emotionally. Like, the surface level stuff is there. That movie looks phenomenal. That is a gritty, ugly movie that just sears itself onto your eyes. And then that soundtrack is just, that score just, there's so much dread in every note of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many people walk out really impacted by that, because it does grab you. I mean, it is a visceral experience when you're watching that movie. And so, yeah, I was really glad to see that score win. It is a good score.
And I love that they did it, pardon the pun, old school. They completely higher score and played it on the set. She wrote it from the screenplay. They didn't shoot it and then affix music to it. And that's just stunning that they let the music be the emotional true north for them that they could all align to while making the movie. It's fantastic. It's just fantastic.
And she met it by their due date.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done. We're so witty.
I was gonna say, if Todd Phillips had one last night, it would have been a legacy award for due date. But
Hangover 2.
Hangover 2. Oh, good lord. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The Toy Story win, I was kind of about. Taika Waititi winning. I love Taika Waititi. But I feel like, I don't know, there's something about Jojo Rabbit's screenplay that just did not totally gel with me. Like, it's a very pat screenplay in many ways, I feel. But I like Taika so much, so...
I would have liked to have seen many other people in that category win that award.
But
That's all I'm going to say.
I will say it is a legacy award for What We Do in the Shadows, which I still think is one of the best comedies of the last 10 years, and I've loved watching him, but I feel like Jojo Rabbit being the one he's getting all the recognition for, I'm like, gosh, he's done so much better work this whole decade. And I like Jojo Rabbit. I enjoy Jojo Rabbit, but it's definitely not up there with Hunt for the Wilder People or What We Do in the Shadows.
And I think if we're comparing screenplays, I think it's you can talk about it being too long. You can talk about it being really samey. If you're not paying attention to what was accomplished in the script of The Irishman, well, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm like, then you're not paying attention to the actual writing.
Yeah, no, Steven Zalian's script for that is really good. I wish that had gotten one thing, just one thing would have made me happy.
Yeah,
but
it's the one they should have swapped out. JoJo could have gone home empty-handed, and life would have been just fine.
They could have also given editing to it, other than Ford v Ferrari.
That was a weird one. Well, that's of course, if you know your Oscar history. It's interesting that is the category that you sort of have to at least be nominated for to win Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very, very rare that a film wins Best Picture and isn't at least nominated for Best Editing. And so when 1917 wasn't there, you realize, well, that kind of opens up the field back when everybody thought that was going to be the obvious winner. And so I'm okay with Ford versus Ferrari winning. It's a finely edited movie, because it does a lot of it is well edited in a variety of different ways. It's not just that the action scenes are really well directed. The scenes that are kind of actiony but are actually dramatic pieces are really well done. I love the scene when Christian Bale's having the fight with his wife and she's driving. That's a beautifully done sequence. I highly encourage anybody to go check it out if you haven't seen it. It is edited for tension and comedy in just fantastic ways. It's a really, really great work. I have no problem with it winning, but yes, I would have been fine with almost any of those films winning, quite frankly.
Looking down the list of winners, and I don't know that I have anything else to say about them. This is the first year I did not get to see any of the shorts this year. We tried to make it out to the Detroit Film Theater to see the short program, and they were all sold out the entire time. And I would love to see some of those. Did you see any of them, or?
I didn't this year. I let those go. I didn't see any of those. I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of the feature documentaries.
You know, I don't think I have either. Last year was really horrible with school and everything, just keeping everything kind of at arm's length for me. And I think documentaries really, the two documentaries I loved, Apollo 11 and Amazing Grace, were shut out. But now I have a whole list of things I need to look at. And Honeyland, the screener for that, has been sitting on my end table for 2 weeks, and I feel like I need to get around to that one. I've heard nothing but great things about that, and American Factory, which ended up winning, and that's just a Netflix push away, and there's no excuse for it except I just haven't had the time.
Of course.
So, anything about the show itself that I really enjoyed the opening, calling out all the movies that were not nominated, and the lack of diversity that ended up this ended up being, like we said, a very diverse group of winners. But the opening number, I learned what Janelle Monáe was. So I am not hip to today's music, so I spent about the first 30 minutes Googling who is on stage at the Oscars, and didn't have that feeling again until the rapper came up to give us the recap.
I am as much as I love musicals, I don't ever want to see production numbers at the Oscars. I hate them. I think they are nothing but network time killers. I've never seen one that in my mind, I can't recall one I was ever like, that was really good. That really added something to the show. I just don't believe that. Perform the nominated songs. Absolutely. I don't mind watching people sing. I just don't need that elaborate production number. It's a movie show. I'll watch clip reels all day long. I love well-edited montages of things. I thought it was interesting to cut together the each of the acting categories, the nominees, each of the acting categories, to have a whole, a whole montage comparing and contrasting them as opposed to your typical, just show the big moment, when each name is announced. That was interesting. I didn't think they were all great, but I was fine with it. I like it when they do things like, that montage of memorable moments of songs being used in movies. Again, I wasn't enamored of the result of it, but I'm glad they tried it. I think that's more interesting. It's a show about movies, so show us movies.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see. I'm not watching the Tonys. I'm watching the movie awards show. So let's do that. So I didn't care about that. Steve Martin and Chris Rock I thought were fine. Just let Maya Rudolph host everything is really my opinion in life. Just pair up and trade off Maya Rudolph, Kristen Wiig, Amy Poehler, and Tina Fey, and some combination of the two of them can host everything for the rest of time, and that's the way it should be.
My wife and I we just finished The Good Place, because The Good Place just ended, but Maya Rudolph pops up in there a few times. And I had the thought when she showed up this season, Maya Rudolph makes everything about 25% better, no matter what it is.
Oh, yeah.
She is just such a delight to see on anything, and it just baffles me that she is not, headlining movies or, like you said, an awards show host. I would grab her for everything. She's always so much fun to watch, and they tried out Will Ferrell all the time, who really, that is the diminishing returns on that one. But I would easily tune in to watch Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph host the Oscars next year. And you get Amy Poehler or Tina Fey in there, but they have the Golden Globes. They'll be fine. But Maya Rudolph is just, I love watching her show up. And just when she just starts singing randomly, it is my favorite thing ever.
I adore that she is so cool that she goes to the Oscars without Paul Thomas Anderson. How great is that? How fantastic is that? They're not married. How fantastic is that couple? Like,
does he just not attend?
That she doesn't need to have him there. That's so great.
Does he just not attend at all, or
he wasn't there? I know he's attended in the past when he's been nominated.
Okay.
And he would certainly be. I mean, there's no. I would love to know why he wasn't there. He may very well be shooting. He might very well be working. I mean, or he's at home with the kids. I don't know. But I mean, he's an LA kid. There's no reason. I just love the fact that he's not there. I think is fantastic. I don't know whether it was. I would love to know the decision-making process. I would love to know who's working. I would love to know if it's I'm taking care of the kids. I would love to know if it's something like I don't want to detract from, I may get more attention than you, and you're the one that we're here for tonight. So I just won't go at all, and we won't have this problem. I have no idea, but I just love that it happened that way. I hope it doesn't indicate some sort of problem in the relationship.
Oh no, she's just Maya Rudolph. She's just going to show up, and
she's awesome. She's so awesome.
Now see, I didn't mind the singing and dancing numbers, except for the fact that they spent time on that, and the honorary winners don't get to speak.
Yeah, so not even clips of that. Of that banquet. That's awful. Yeah, that's awful. Agreed. Completely agreed.
Do you like the no host? Because I loved it last year, and I felt this year it turned the whole thing into kind of an incoherent, jumble. I was really confused about, they would have presenters for presenters sometimes, and then sometimes they would just start whatever they were doing, and I was so confused half the show with what was going on.
It's the Oscar telecast. It doesn't. Have we seen the thing about the ratings? Do we know how well it did TV-wise?
It did bad. It dropped.
It dropped, yeah.
But, I mean, that's also the fact that people just don't watch network TV live half the time anymore. Every awards ceremony has dropped because TV is not what it was 20 years ago. The way people watch TV. And really, I mean, it makes me just kind of frustrated as I'm watching it, but in the end, like you said, I'm there to see who wins, and I'm going to watch anyway, no matter if there's a host or not, So yeah, that is the Oscars. Do you have anything else on the show?
We can put the movie year to bed, finally.
We can start waiting for them to learn all the wrong lessons from this year.
And we shall see. We shall see in just another 12 months who takes home the 2020 Oscars.
As we get another long lineup of gritty DC comic villain movies, I cannot wait for The Last Temptation of Condiment King. It's going to be so great. Yeah, it's probably going to happen, isn't it? Well, Perry, that brings us to the end of our episode and the end of our first season. And we are ending this first season almost exactly a year after we started, which I guess is fitting with a season. So I want to thank you for doing this for the last year, and we will be back in 2 months. So I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Perry Loves Film. You can hear me every Friday morning on the Lucy and Lance Show on WLBY in Ann Arbor. You like to watch movies? Do you live near Ypsilanti, Michigan? Come on out to the Ypsilanti Library to Film Club. I run the film club out there. We see a new movie, not a new movie. We see a movie every month, and then 2 weeks later we get together again and we talk about it. It's just like a book club, but it's movies. You can find me third row center at your local multiplex. Chris, where can people find you?
Right now you can find me on Twitter at Mere Christianity. And that's about it. I've taken a little bit of a step back for the next few months on writing and podcasting. But in 2 months, you can find me again on Wasting Time and back here. And but in the meantime, I'm on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter when I'm avoiding everything else. So,
and I will say, if you pay attention to the We're Watching Here Twitter and Facebook feeds, you'll see some new content there every once in a while over these couple months. We're not out of touch.
No, we're not out of touch, and I think we're going to be texting each other nice ideas for episodes when we get back. So about 2 months, we will have new episodes for you. I'll start retweeting some of the old ones so you can catch up. And we'll see you back here this spring.